They say some storms are beautiful until you're standing in the eye of one. There is a kind of woman Carl Jung warned us about, not just in psychology books, but hidden in the architecture of the human soul. She is not simply toxic or manipulative. She is archetypal, a force of nature wearing a human face. And every man, sooner or later, will meet her. She awakens both your deepest fantasies and your oldest wounds. If you're unaware, you mistake the danger in her smile for warmth. You won't fall all at once. You'll unravel slowly, first your clarity, then your dignity, until you barely remember the man you were before she arrived. Jung didn't speak in red flags or pop psychology. He gave us the map of the soul. On that map lies a confrontation. Every man must face with what he called the anima, the feminine within. Some women, whether they know it or not, embody the dark anima. They become a living mirror to your unintegrated chaos. Like a siren from ancient myth, they call not to your strength, but to the wounds you've tried to bury. And when you don't see this, you confuse obsession for connection, pain for passion. As Seneca once wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. But with her, you will suffer in both. Picture this. You meet her at a party. She's magnetic without being loud. You feel her glance before you see it. She walks up and says, "You look like someone who gets whatever he wants." That must be boring. On the surface, it's playful. Beneath, it's a test. She's not flirting. She's calibrating. She's probing to see if your confidence is genuine or just a mask. Most men take the bait. They deny, defend, or nervously laugh, hoping to win her approval. But each reaction is a quiet surrender, revealing that her opinion matters more than their self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The lies. Realize this, and you will find strength. Fail this test, and she sees instability, not mystery. Now imagine the power move. You hear the jab and pause, not to defend, but to see. You smile not arrogantly, but knowingly, and simply say, "I've seen both sides of that coin." Nothing more. No need to explain. That single sentence tells her you have met ease and hardship, pleasure and pain, and you stand unshaken by either. You become, in her mind, not just a man, but a mountain. In that moment, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer just another person to evaluate. You become a mystery to unravel. And mysteries pull at the feminine soul, the way gravity pulls the tide. Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your calm becomes the mirror she didn't expect, tan the reflection she can't forget. She tests you not to destroy you, but to measure you. A man who unravels at a subtle insult will never be able to hold her. This instinct is older than logic itself. Many men, conditioned to chase approval, respond with denial, defensiveness, or nervous laughter. Each reaction is a quiet surrender, revealing he values her opinion more than his own self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Lose that power, and you lose yourself. When a man's identity is built on how others perceive him, any threat to that image fractures him. To her, this is not merely unattractive, feels unstable, unsafe. She may still flirt or spend time with him, but something deep has closed. He will never know why. Now, picture the man who answers differently. He hears the jab and pause, is not to defend, but to understand. He smiles, not with arrogance, but with calm certainty, and says, "I've seen both sides of that coin." Nothing more, no performance, no attempt to win her. This is the essence of what Jung called individuation, the integration of opposites. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This man has faced ease and hardship, shame and strength without flinching. His very presence communicates, "I know who I am, and I don't need you to validate it." He is no longer her mirror, he becomes her mystery. Mysteries are magnetic. She now feels an inexplicable pull, a curiosity that grows in the silence. Her mind begins to wonder, what did he mean? What else has he seen? She begins to write her own story about him, one he never had to tell. Then, weeks later, she sends a message out of nowhere. Hey, you still around? No context, no apology. This is not chance, it's a test. She is reaching to see if the same emotional door is still open. The weak man replies immediately, revealing he has been waiting. But the man rooted in himself takes a breath, feels the pull of the past, and chooses silence. Not from anger, but from completion. As Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." In that silence, she meets something rare, someone she can no longer read, no longer control. And in the space between her message and his absence, respect begins to grow where power once drained away. You're on a date. The energy flows, laughter, subtle glances, quiet tension. Then she brings up her ex. First casually, then with more detail. She talks about how toxic it was, how she stayed too long, how she finally broke free. Before you can decide if she's venting or warning you, she leans in and says, "I just need someone who's not afraid to fight for me." It sounds romantic, but, as Carl Jung would say, it's an initiation, a test disguised as vulnerability. The question beneath it is, will you become the hero of my trauma? Many men see her pain as a puzzle to solve, not realizing this has little to do with her past and everything to do with their own boundaries. Here, the shadow anima doesn't appear as seductress, but as victim. If you mistake that vulnerability for love, you're already lost. Jung warned that the man who hasn't integrated his inner rescuer will fall for the woman who weaponizes her wounds not out of malice but out of need. She wants your attention. More than your truth, the weak man leans in, touches her hand, and says, "You deserve better." He promises to be different. In doing so, he steps into a role the healer. Once you accept that role, you can't challenge her without risking the bond. You stop being a man and become a function. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But in this trap, your thoughts are shaped by her wounds, not your own values. Over time, you excuse inconsistencies, rationalize volatility, and minimize discomfort. Until one day you realize you haven't been loved, you've been used. Not for your body or status, but for your willingness to abandon yourself. Eventually, she resents you for the very weakness she tested you for. Traction withers when polarity disappears. You've become her therapist, her safe space, but never her obsession. Now imagine the power move. She shares her story, her pain. Now listen, not to fix, but to understand. You hold her gaze, and when she says, "I just need someone who won't give up on me," you answer, "I don't fight for people, I walk with them." Then you let the silence work. As Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Your calm refusal to be drawn into performance shows strength she rarely encounters. You recognize her past without volunteering to carry it. That's not rejection, it's revelation. You've kept your boundaries and standards. That moment. You're not a savior, you're a mirror. And mirrors make people self-aware. She may resist it, but she won't forget it. At first, she's confused. Most men offer comfort. You offered clarity. Clarity disrupts the familiar loop. Later, she replays your words, "I walk with people." They linger because they imply partnership over performance, self-respect over sacrifice. She starts to see your energy as sovereign. It's wondering what kind of woman could truly earn your loyalty. Without realizing it, she begins to measure herself. You're no longer auditioning, she is. The pedestal flips. In the mind of a high feminine woman, this is the ultimate aphrodisiac, not approval,
not empathy,
but power, wrapped in integrity. You didn't save her, you reflected her.
and that is what she's been craving all along.
You're deep into a relationship. The honeymoon is over. Comfort has set in until suddenly, she starts picking fights. At first, it's small. How you load the dishwasher. Why you didn't text back quickly. And the questions cut deeper. Do you even want this? Are we really right for each other? You try to reassure her, but the tension grows. This isn't random conflict. It's archetypal. Jung would say the unconscious dynamics are surfacing. She isn't searching 4. Security. She's seeking polarity. These sudden doubts aren't about dishes or messages. They're her psyche probing for your edges, your boundaries, your masculine solidity. She doesn't want a yes man. She wants a mirror of her chaos that won't blink. If you see her storm as a personal attack, you miss the point. Jung taught that real maturity individuation comes from facing tension, not avoiding it. She's not asking you to fix her emotions. She's asking, can you hold the fire without running? The weak man panics, apologizes excessively, tiptoes around her moods, and avoids hard truths. Each time, he shrinks in her eyes, becoming an emotional subordinate. Marcus Aurelius warned, you shouldn't give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care. By avoiding conflict, he shows her that her emotions are too much for him. And that's an insult to someone who lives through emotion. So she pushes more, not to break the relationship, but to see if you have a spine. And every time you fold, you confirm her fear. There is no man here, only appeasement. Now, the power move. She escalates, questions your love, your masculinity. Instead of defending, you sit back with calm intensity and say, you're allowed to feel whatever you're feeling. But if you punish me for it, I won't stay. No threats, no neediness. It's just clear, anchored energy. Epictetus said, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. You've refused to be mastered. This presence changes everything. You're not reacting to her. Storm, you're steady inside it. You show her that your integrity is non-negotiable. She's no longer facing a boy seeking approval, but a man whose self-worth isn't in her hands. Polarity is restored. Tension is reborn. Her perception shifts. The need to escalate dissolves. What remains is awe. She's found something most men lack: gravity. Not charm, not affection, but spiritual density. The ability to stand unmoved until the storm passes. Seneca said, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. You just proved you can take the friction. The feminine doesn't want domination, it wants direction. A presence strong enough to hold steady against mood, fear, and longing. When she meets that presence, she softens. Trust replaces tension. And from trust comes devotion, not fantasy, but earned polarity. You didn't calm her storm, stood inside it. She saw strength she can believe in. Months into the relationship, the bond feels strong. The connection is deep. You start to imagine a future. Then, without warning, she begins to withdraw. Plans are canceled. Response is slow. The warmth fades. She says she's just busy, but you know the orbit has shifted. The storm is not in her, it's in you. Fear of loss, the urge to fix, the ache of rejection. This is when most men lose themselves. Not because she's leaving, but because they abandon their own center trying to pull her back. Jung warned that withdrawal is not always punishment, it's often initiation.
The test.
Can you remain whole without her validation? The weak man chases. He texts, calls, explains, makes grand gestures, which act as a retreat from sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Lose that power and you start orbiting her instead of your own mission. She no longer sees the man who led only the shadow of need. Attraction cannot survive need. It erases the very energy she was drawn to. She begins to relate not to a man, but to dependency. The more he pulls, the more she recoils. Now, the power move. She grows distant, and you breathe. You feel the ache, but you don't obey it. Return to your rhythm, your work, your training, your vision. When she finally reaches out, you greet her with warmth, but without need. Good to hear from you. Hope you've been well. And you leave it there. No pursuit. No clinging. This is integration of the anima, chasing the feminine outside because you've found it within. Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. You are not cold. You are complete. Her distance didn't shake you, it revealed your strength. Now she feels something unexpected. Longing, curiosity. What has he been doing? Who is he becoming? You've shifted the dynamic. You're no longer waiting, she is. And if she wants to return, She must rise to meet you, Seneca wrote. A great mind becomes invincible by remaining unconquered. When the feminine meets true masculine integration, it doesn't seduce, it stands in awe. She realizes she cannot manipulate you. And in that truth, she must choose you freely or not at all. You've now seen the 5 hidden scenarios Jung revealed in the male unconscious, the cold jab at the party, the ghosted text that returns, the date where vulnerability becomes a weapon, the relationship storm that tests your backbone, and the withdrawal that challenges your center. Your arsenal is simple, but powerful. At the party, the quiet acknowledgement. I've seen both sides of that coin. At the text ambush, silent deletion, honoring your own closure. On the trauma date, I walk with people drawing the line between partnership and savior in conflict. Feel whatever you feel, but if you punish me, I won't. Stay and at withdrawal. Good to hear from you. Hope you've been well. These are not scripts to memorize, but reflections of integration. Each is born from wholeness, not performance. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your thoughts are steady, your words carry weight. Jung warned that the anima, the inner feminine, often appears outside of you. In women who mirror the chaos you haven't faced, to ignore this is to ignore your own shadow. Mastering these responses is not cruelty. It is self-respect. It is the path of individuation where you stop being led by unconscious patterns and become the author of your own desire. You no longer confuse obsession with approval or chaos with passion. You stand anchored as the storm swirls, not asking her to soothe you, but inviting her to meet your depth. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." Your steadiness in the storm becomes her measure. In this steadiness lies rare alchemy, awe transformed into devotion. She follows not because you chase, but because you guard a realm within yourself. She can only enter by earning it. Your silence, your boundaries, your sovereign brevity, these become landmarks in her mind. When she returns to the familiar, the safety of the known, something will still draw her to you, the unknown. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Live as that man. Integrate your anima, to end desire, but to begin a new realm of conscious passion. You've seen the tests. You've seen the failures. Now embody the power responso. The woman who once could pull you off center becomes the one who gravitates back to it. That is the promise of mastery, and your next initiation awaits. Mastery in relationships is not about control over another. It's control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." When you integrate this truth, every test becomes an opportunity to demonstrate who you are, not prove it. The scenarios you've learned are not isolated events. They are patterns. The cold jab, the reappearing message, the plea for rescue, the emotional storm, the silent withdrawal. They will surface in different faces at different times. What matters is your consistency, Seneca said. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. These are your trials. When you respond from a grounded center, you communicate something rare. Sovereignty. You're not swayed by praise nor destroyed by rejection. You live in alignment with your values, and that alignment becomes magnetic. Picture a mountain in a storm. The winds may roar, the rain may pour, but the mountain does not move. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction, calm, deliberate, principled, will outlast any temporary chaos. Women of depth will sense this. Some will be drawn to it, others will test it. Either way, your task is the same. Remain whole. You do not lower your standards to keep someone. You invite them to rise and meet them. This is not a call to hardness, but to strength. The kind of strength that makes room for love without losing self-respect. That welcomes connection, but never at the cost of your center. And when you live this way, you won't need to chase. What's meant for you will be drawn to the gravity you carry. The path of the integrated man is lifelong. Every interaction is both a reflection and a refinement of the man you are becoming. Live so that your presence commands respect without a word. Lead so that love follows without being summoned. And always remember, the greatest victory is mastery over the only thing you can truly command, yourself. She now sees a man who chooses connection from abundance, not fear. Her heart races, not because you chased, but because you stood firm. She expected coldness or desperation, but you were calm, kind, and unmoved. That steadiness awakened something she hasn't felt in weeks: longing. Curiosity sparks. What has he been doing? Who is he becoming? You've shifted the dynamic. You're no longer the one waiting, she is. An entry back into your world is not granted easily, not from punishment, but from discernment. Your center is non-negotiable. Your peace is not for sale. If she returns, she must rise to meet you. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stand upright, speak the truth, and let them think what they will." Jung taught that when the feminine meets true masculine integration, it does not seduce, it stands in awe. She may resist, but deep down she knows. This is the man she cannot manipulate. This is the man she must choose. You've now seen 5 key scenarios: the cold jab at the party, the ghosted text that reappears, the date where vulnerability becomes a weapon, the emotional storm that tests your spine, and the withdrawal that challenges your center, your responses, rooted in calm. Sovereignty are not lines to memorize, but reflections of an integrated self. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." When you live from that center, obsession is no longer mistaken for approval, nor chaos for passion. You become the man who stands anchored while storms swirl, inviting her not to soothe you, but to match your depth. In that space, awe transforms into devotion. She follows not because you chase, but because you lead a realm within yourself. She cannot enter without earning it. Your silence, your boundaries, your measured words each becomes a landmark in her mind, something she maps her longing to. Seneca reminded us, self-control is the chief element in self-respect, and self-respect is the chief element in courage. When you embody this, you stop being a man she can sway and become the one she cannot forget.